Welcome, everyone. It's Teresa with Diaries of the Late Bloomers, and Daniela's on the line with me today. We just wanted to acknowledge for anyone questioning, where is Lisa? Lisa has been dealing with a family emergency, just the way timing has worked out when we started the podcast. She needs to be at home. She needs to be focused on what's going on. So she will be back. She'll be joining us. We're just never sure at the moment which episodes, but we are just sending peace and prayers and all good vibes her way.
Yes.
Good morning. Would you like to say good morning, Daniela?
Good morning, everybody. It is sunny, but it is cold here, but that's okay. We're moving forward and we're in spring.
And we have warm hearts.
Yes.
So, welcome to the third episode, Diaries of the Late Bloomers. And today, we want to do the 411 on finding joy.
Mhm.
So, it's not just finding joy, but it's also how to keep it. Because I think all of us have had moments where we have glimmers of what joy is and what it is versus happiness, we'll say, because the two are very different. Happiness is kind of a fleeting feeling, a surge of emotion that's positive and uplifting. Where joy is a quieter feeling that you carry with you. It's a presence, maybe a gratitude, and unfortunately, in life, people have a tendency to lose that when things happen that are out of the power of their control. When we all have loss, we all have devastation, and when life happens, which it does for all of us, I've actually yet to meet a soul anywhere that doesn't have some story of great loss, great impact, survival. And so in those moments, our joy, I think, is a little deflated, and we have to look inward and we have to work on finding it again, but it does come back. And we're here to share those thoughts and those feelings. Yeah.
Yes, we are. And I think to add, Teresa, there's a distinction between micro joy versus big joys. And for me, micro joys are like, slow mornings with my coffee. I'm team sunrise. So being able to watch the sunrise, sitting by the water, wearing my Texas belt buckle and cowboy boots and starting golf clinic next week. Those are micro joys. What Teresa and I really want to focus on is the big joys, in alignment, right? And it's showing up in something that you find and your actions and your values. So there's definitely a distinction between the micro joys that we think that like buying versus the big joys and the joy at this stage of life, how different it is versus say at my 20s and 30s, right? Don't you agree, Teresa?
I think that the biggest difference or the biggest distinction that happens over decades is when you're young, your focus is more on the have tos. I actually read something one time. I'd love to be able to find it again, where it kind of defines the decades of your life. Like one is learning, one is growing, one is establishing. And so I think when you're in your 20s and 30s and even your 40s, you're immersed in the functions of defining yourself and establishing yourself, and you're preoccupied with children and career and all of the things that make you feel like you're pursuing life in the way that you should. And as we get older, life gets a little quieter. You've now had a lot of life experience and you have more time to sit with yourself. And that's where I think you actually start understanding or really focusing and appreciating how to categorize or compartmentalize the emotions that you have. And joy is probably the grandest of them all. Joy is the one that we all hope to achieve and strive for. And I think that it's now, especially, I think when people talk about getting older and being happier and while your body's breaking down, but I almost feel as if our cup filleth um, when we get older because we actively choose to chase, find, and embrace joy.
Exactly. And, it's not joy for me is it's liberation from stop performing and living my life. And I think that midlife brings a shift from quantity to more quality, at least for me, right? And your time becomes so precious. You can't buy it, and there's only so much of it, and you need to protect it. And I think that deep joy, it comes from, for me, slowing down because I'm a list maker and I've got to attain everything on the list. And so it's doing less and being more intentional and having the space to breathe to see what brings me joy.
There's a value. Joy is value. It is alignment, but it is also, I think that as you age, you start to appreciate engaging in the activities that you love. You make time for things that fulfill you, where maybe when you're younger, you're chasing the things that you think you have to do.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where we get this set list of what is required of us through life, but we all seem to have this, and maybe it's just the patterning of age where we have to go to school and then we have to get a job and then we get married and then we have children and then we focus. Where is the focus on ourselves? I
Right.
feel like that you're almost told what to do
Right.
until you learn better, and once you learn better, you want more, and that's where we start valuing our person and making the time to be joyful. It is a word that it carries a lot of weight. It's 3 letters, but its significance and what it means has everything to do with how much you, um, live your life. You're gonna have to turn your mic off when you're moving around, Danielle. I can hear all kinds of
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
all kinds of stuff. So, um, for me, I think where I'm coming at with this angle, I have all these notes and all these things, how we find joy and how we keep joy, and I think it's important to cover those. But for me, I think my message is really to speak to those people that are struggling with finding their joy after loss, because
Hmm.
that's a heavy thing to carry. We have some friends right now, and you're all dealing with different things in life. We all have, um, you could be dealing with children issues or parent issues or health issues or job issues or whatever it is. And those things steal a piece of us. They
Yes.
require work, they require hardship. And more importantly, um, what hones us is our individual suffering. We all have a little bit of suffering. Some have big loads to carry, some have small loads to carry. And the more you're carrying, it's almost like a balance if you think of two scales, the more it weighs on your joy. So, how does one exist in a world today with all of these challenges, time, commitments, family, struggles, emotions, and still have this internal light that we will call joy that just kind of seeps out of us? And how do we? I think optimism is a huge part of joy, also. So that is, I think, throughout this conversation, what I want to speak to, because as a one of the things that's said to me, um, it's funny because I almost look like a dog with my head tilted. Um, I carry that one burden that no parent wants, which is I've lost a child.
Hmm.
And it's funny how people react to me or
Hmm.
respond to me because they have this fleeting feeling of what that might be like. And people don't want to go to that place, right?
Right.
So they're like, um, how was I able to find a place where I could exist on a daily basis? Because I have seen people, parents who are unable to climb out of that hole, if
Right.
that makes sense. They carry this, it's almost like they have cement blocks around their ankles. They carry this weight that is so heavy they can't even see the light. And so the practices that I've written down or the things that I've experienced have helped me immensely be able to put that grief into its own place so that I have joy in another place, and I can able to go through life without this suffering, silent suffering, I guess. And just part of that, and we're gonna move on from that. But part of that is the understanding. It has to do with faith for me and feeling that in a spiritual realm that there is another world, there is an afterlife, there is a place where I will see my child again. And because of that, I feel as if it's temporary. And if I can focus on the things in life that I'm supposed to focus on, I will find joy in those moments, the things that I love. Because I lost a child doesn't mean I can't love things. It doesn't mean I can't have moments of um, great impact and feeling that are wonderful. I don't have to carry this doom because this thing happened to me. And I think it's really important. It is a process, I think, for some people to learn how to get through that. Um, but know this, absolutely. If you met me in person, I am one of the most joy filled people you would ever meet, and you wouldn't even know the hardships that I've had. And that is a testament to finding the internal things that feed my happiness, my optimism, my joyfulness. That's where I want to live. That's where, don't we all want to live there?
Absolutely.
You know, nobody wants to be in that place. It's depressing. And so I think that there is a mind over matter in some ways. I do feel like this is by no means to dismiss, personality disorders or depression or real life chemistry, chemical imbalances in the brain. They exist. They are true.
Hmm.
But I do think there are things that we can do to help ourselves try to get out of those places as best we can, and find in ourselves maybe distractions and things that will help us by for example maybe support groups or finding people that understand you. I don't think there's any greater joy than not feeling alone. And so when we meet somebody in a place where we have a similar interest, a similar anything, that's why there are groups. Why are there,
Right.
motorcycle clubs, and why are there artist groups, and why are there book clubs, and why are there these activities where we engage where someone understands us. And I think that's the first check mark in a box that says, I have found someone that has something in common, someone that understands me. And isn't that like two children, grabbing hands and skipping along? Have you ever seen two
Hmm.
kids come together, two complete strangers,
Yep.
like 3 or 4 year olds meeting each other on a sidewalk? And all of a sudden they just light up and they embrace and they don't even know each other. And if we could find that, it's in us.
Right.
It's in all of us. It's just been misplaced. And we have to figure out there are ways to understand why our joy slips and how we can keep it.
True. I also feel that women struggle more with getting the joy because we're so busy. Um, and that's tough, right? It's something joy is something that you allow yourself. It's not something we earn. And a lot of women, they delay it. And they say, "I'll relax when I'm finished cleaning the house or when I succeed and when things calm down." But joy doesn't require permission. Um, it's more about letting yourself feel it when it shows up, which
So would
is
you say
it.
then it's important to stop in a moment when you're having a moment to recognize that moment?
Absolutely, right? And or if you call or you call a friend and instead of rushing off the phone or just taking the extra minutes because how many times have you been on the phone and you're like, I got to get off the phone, I got to get off the phone, I've got to do that, right? Instead of just having that couple minutes because who knows, it could be another week before you talk to that person or being in that moment itself, that's a whole different thing than talking with you on the phone, right? Getting joy or laughing, that deep hearted laugh. And then you get off the phone and you're thinking, that was a terrific conversation. I laughed, I feel better because I gave myself the permission, right?
Well, that would go to celebrating small wins.
Right.
Celebrate your small wins. Pat yourself on the back. When no one else is around to pat you on the back, pat your own self on the back, Um, embrace the moments that are meaningful to you, because I think the one way to get disappointed pretty quickly is you want to share a moment. And not everyone is going to be aware of that. Not everyone is going to understand what is important to us is important to us.
Right.
And the first step in not being disappointed is not making somebody else responsible for how you feel.
Right.
So it's our own responsibility. It's okay. Like, for example, my husband, a lot of people would look at my husband and go, "You poor guy, man, your wife, she's just in everything all the time." And it's true. And that's how I know he's perfect for me, because it doesn't phase him at all.
Right.
He's just completely okay with anything, what I do, but it also may appear as he's not interested or he's just disinterested. I wrote a book. Has he read it? No. Do I take issue with that? Absolutely not. It's not his thing, it's my thing.
Right.
And why would I put if the moment I put my thing on someone else to make me feel good, I'm setting myself up for disappointment immediately, stealing my own joy. So how many of us do that? How many of us actively put our happiness in someone else's hands and then end up disappointed when their reaction isn't what we wanted or what our reaction would be? You know,
Right.
you have to be, and this goes to, one of the key things about joy is practicing gratitude. I'm grateful for me. Now that sounds crazy, but no, and this isn't a conceited statement, but nobody loves me more than I love me. I love me because this is the one body, the one mind, and I recognize all the gifts that I have been blessed with and I appreciate them. And when I send up prayers, my prayers are never asking for anything. They're always thanking for everything that I've been given, even my hardships.
Right.
And I think that might be something that we learn as we get older too. The best, the people that I've met that have had the most impact on me have been the people that have had the most suffering. And honestly, those people carry the most joy. And one of my favorite poets and philosophers, Khalil Gibran, writes a poem on joy and sorrow. And it's really impactful in the sense that you can't have one without the other. You would not understand or value joy if you didn't understand um, pain, suffering, sorrow. Those two things share the same space. As different as they are, you can't understand one without the other. So now you add a good dose of humility in there,
Hmm.
staying humble, being thankful, forgiving, giving yourself grace. All of these types of things fill your own well. And as I've gotten older, what has become important to me is filling my own well. Now, I do not do that at the expense of anyone else, but I'm thankful that I've learned how to do this because I live a much happier life now.
True. And I feel like deep joy also comes after release, letting go of perfection and
Forgiveness.
letting go of who you thought you should be, because it's not always about adding more, it's about carrying less of a load. And then earlier in life, I remember always thinking purpose is achievement, right? And now for me, it becomes meaningful work, helping others and living to my values, and even small things that bring joy, like mentoring and volunteering and creating something, a craft or doing something that brings me joy. And sadly, I think a lot of people don't even realize what their joy is because they're so busy and trying to help others, right? For me, joy becomes quieter at this stage of life. And it really is the little things for me, a deep, deep laugh. I love when people make me laugh. And the old saying, joy, and it doesn't whisper. And it doesn't shout. It whispers, but it doesn't shout.
It sings. Joy
Yes.
sings.
Yes. It's
It's
quieter and it's so deep for me.
it's really important. Maybe that is part of growth that we learn how to value and place things where they belong. I often wonder why we put so much pressure on ourselves and where that comes from. Where did the pressure originate? Why do we feel we have these certain drives or goals, and if we aren't meeting those, it robs our joy? Um, so where does that come from? Is it a self-propelled, um, or is it something we learn from our parents? Is it something we get from our kids? There are some parents that spend their entire existence chasing the dreams of their children. And as
Sure.
wonderful as that is, it can't fill giving can fill your own well more than anything, kindness, like giving pieces of yourself away. But if you get lost in the lives of your children, then are you truly fulfilling your purpose?
But I think that your joy changes and shifts, right? You get married, then you have children, and you're focused all on the kids, and um, I think your joy shifts. I think hardship in life, um, things that make you appreciate, right? I really believe that as we age, hopefully we get more wisdom, and then your joy shifts, right? Um,
Yeah, it's daily practices that keep
yes.
you grounded, understanding lessons and having consistent habits. Being consistent, patterns and stability will definitely help keep you grounded. And grounding is important. Um, Joy for me is a lot about lessons. It's putting an understanding with the lesson and giving myself grace, forgiving myself when I fall short, appreciating and celebrating myself when I do things that I want to accomplish. Here's an example.
Hmm.
Something that will rob a lot of people of joy is weight.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people carry uh, weight loss, right? It's
Right.
huge. It's
Yes.
absolutely huge.
It's
If
everywhere.
you are unhappy with yourself, it's hard to find joy because that unhappiness will override everything else that's kind of happening. So it's the ability to be able to find a place within yourself where you can be okay with where you are in the present. So instead of having a moment and going, I didn't reach my goal, I haven't done what I need to do, I'm kind of in this phase right now with myself where I have been so cycled in my life with weight loss up and down. I'm a natural weight gainer. I love carbohydrates. I am an Aquarian, which is a very cerebral sign, not physical. I don't have any of the physical characteristics of the physical signs, which I wish I did. I know myself to be the kind of person that will occasionally get a gym membership and use it once or twice. How many of us have done that over and over again? Um, so I kind of know who I am now, so I don't set myself
Right.
up for those failures that I did years ago where this New Year's, I didn't jump up and, hey, I'm going to join yoga and I'm going to be 60 years old on my next birthday. If I haven't done these things yet, I'm not going to do them. I mean, let's be fair. So I need to stop setting myself up for failure. I will commit when my brain is right. And in the meantime, I need to cut myself some slack and realize this is going to steal my joy. This is going to take me to a place that keeps me unhappy. Rather than being aligned with my inner being, this would be something interesting, actually. It would be wonderful to have a guest on to speak about energy alignment and chakras
Yes.
because that's a whole world that I don't quite understand, but I'm interested in and I would love to understand because alignment and energy alignment, there's a lot to that. So, to any of our listeners, all 32 of you, and growing, um, we want to be able to have guests and talk deeper about some of these things. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And when you were saying alignment, I feel like joy, that is a big word with joy, right? Because like for me, I do love to run, and that quiet satisfaction, not when I'm trying to get out the door and making myself run, but after a good run or a deep conversation or, something that is finishing something that's meaningful for me. That's alignment and that brings joy. So it's interesting that you used that word alignment because that is huge. And again, I just think that women struggle more with this because we're used to not putting ourselves first.
Mhm.
And then later in life, we have more time, right? The children have moved out. We we have more time after work, and so we start to find things that align with us, which, and then in turn, is giving us joy and deep joy because it's not about the buying of the joy. It's about that satisfaction, like you with your crafts and me with running and or people gardening or book clubs. That's alignment that brings you joy and then meeting people that in those practices that give you joy, right?
I can
Again.
tell you right now what gives when I say true joy, it is like the sun, the heat of the sun
Mhm.
coming up through my body. It's a moment that I recognize I am truly in my happy place, and that for me is when I'm making art. When I have a day off, Friday, I have every other day off. And I'm sorry, every other day, I wish. I have every other Friday off, working for the government. It's called a regular day off, where I work longer days during the week. When I get that day, I love being by myself. A lot of people don't. A lot of people have to fill their time being with other people. But for me to have a day with nothing outlined and I get to go into my art room and just create stuff when the world is quiet, there's music maybe playing in the background, and my hands and my brain and my heart and my emotion and everything is making something. That is a pinnacle for me. That is a moment of peace. That is a moment of reflection. My brain, everything is completely aligned and I am happy. Happy is a moment, right? But when you are
Yes.
living in your joy, you are happy. And I'm just so focused and I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And I will send up that little prayer and I will say, thank you for this moment because that's where I'm happy. There's not a distraction. Everybody's is different. Yours might be running or gardening, or if you have those moments, make time for those moments, whether it's once a month or whether it's an hour a week, whatever it is, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's being with your dog, whether it is listening to your favorite podcast, whatever it is in that moment, that's what we need to find. And if you don't know it, you've gotta find it because
Right.
you're missing your passion. How many people know their passion and their purpose? Because my husband struggles with this. He'll watch me, he'll come in and he'll see me, and he can tell I'm in that moment, and he'll go, I really wish I had a passion." And so, not everybody is able to identify where they're in their happy place, and I encourage us to try to find that as we get older. And how you find that? How do you know?
I think
You
really important to start a joy list, right? And schedule joy. I'm a big list maker. So, at the top of the list, joy, and then everything else that has to go in.
I gotta tell you, that's what I love about us. I love that we're so different there. You are the list maker, and I am the fly by the seat of my pants, right? And
Right?
the two, so we have different advice or different ways of doing it for each side of that fence. I'm absolutely unplanned, and you're happy when you have your lists and your guides and your. So we've got something for everybody here as far as that goes, just because we're very opposite in that regard. I hear whiskey. Is that whiskey?
She was. I'm trying to get her to stop. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yes,
she
I
wants your
think,
attention. Yeah.
but people that struggle or just to put it at the top of your list. And you guys, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what are your joys, and what are you doing about it? That's important to us.
Yeah, and find groups. This is what social media is good for. Because social media, we could spend a whole episode on the good and bad of social media. What it's good for is connecting. So if you have the ability to find a group, I found let me tell you a recent joy. I'll share an experience with you. So Um, I'm the type of person where, for whatever reason, I change art mediums every so many years. Sometimes I'll do something for 2 months. I think the longest I ever did anything was polymer clay, and I did that for like 7 years. Tattooed for 2.5, did stained glass for so many, mosaics. I mean, just all over the place. I put down we moved in 2022, and I set up a tattoo studio that I never used because complicated, but it was downstairs and I started having problems with my hand. And so I tabled doing anything creative. We had a guest room in our house, and not that anyone has ever used it. So I have an entire room in my house for 3 years that just sat with a bed in it and my desk. I start to get an itch and I start to feel edgy, uncomfortable. Something is missing. And when I realize that it is that I haven't done anything creative, I need to be creative. It's a something that it's a need. It's not a want, it's a need.
Right.
And if too much time goes by where I haven't done something, it starts to show. I start to break down, I guess, in ways. So this is why I love my hubby so much. So I come home one day, this was a few months ago, and he took the bed out of the guest room, and I was able to set up a craft room, which I've always had. My life turned around instantly. I picked decoupage. I joined 2 or 3 decoupage groups on Facebook and instantly started connecting. Now, I had no goal. I just knew that I needed to do something, and when I saw this picture online, I went, "Oh, I wanna do that. I'm gonna go pursue that." So, I set out to teach myself everything I could, and my first piece was really crappy. It just was. But I immersed myself into these groups looking for ideas, and, immediately, one artist really stood out. I mean, she was
Mm,
exceptional, right? So,
right.
um, I saw all of these people in these groups asking this person how to do something. "Oh, where did you get those such and such, and how do you do this?" And I this person was so guarded that not only was she not sharing her processes or giving anybody any information, she was blatantly, like, sending them down the wrong path, so they wouldn't figure out her processes or where she was getting things. So I saw this, and I'm in these groups, and I immediately started sharing information. I started, "Oh, well, you can get that on Amazon. That's called this, and that's called whatever." The next thing you know, people are asking me questions like, "Oh, well, what about this?" Before you know it, I'm creating tutorials, I'm teaching, I now have a YouTube page. All of this stuff happened because I was me, and I was just doing what I love to do.
Right.
It was as simple as that. There was no plan, there was no goal. I always wanted to be an art teacher, and here I am, 59 years old, and just based on social media, just by doing the next step, putting the next foot forward, I ended up with something that is so meaningful to me because here's what happened. Here was the unexpected gift, and this is where the joy comes from.
Mhm.
I just started giving information that I had. Having been an artist my entire life, I can look at something and break it down and tell you how to do it. I don't have to know how to do it. I just know from years and years of experience. So I would share this immediately. I started getting all of this feedback. Thank you for helping me. Oh my gosh, you have inspired me. I'm getting the goosies just sharing this. It all started filling my well, and I wasn't trying. I was just being me. I was just sharing knowledge. I just wanted to give them something they were looking for, and in return, by giving it away, I was just completely flooded with joy. So here's the thing. I can make bottles and sell bottles, and yeah, I'm good at it, but it will never give me the feeling that it gives me when somebody says, "Thank you, you helped me." And it was all done by accident, just by being in a space that I enjoy being.
Well, I think it's like it's not because you weren't chasing it, it was about coming home to you and being true to yourself, right? Having that discernment. And like you said, because you knew and how it made you feel after and with helping, that's that discernment, that heart speak to you so that you knew what you were doing, that validation was the right thing and giving you joy. Because people also have to learn what, you know, a joy drainer, right? Because we have
Mm,
lots of those and
mm.
learn to reduce one a week, right? I can add all this stuff and I'm really good at that. And everyone's always telling me I do too much, but that makes me happy.
Yes.
Same token, I have to learn to, okay, what's the real priority,
Balance. It's
right?
balance.
Yes. So when you speak about that and finding that niche of doing the art and helping others, because I think a lot of people don't know what gives them deep joy,
But
and
not
that's
just
sad
that. I'm
too.
sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
you gave me this thought. What about what you just said when you said you have all of these things you love to do, being
Mhm,
super busy, right?
mhm.
You met people, I know I've met people that try to change that. Like you go, okay, I'm really busy. And they go, oh, well, do this or do that. And you're like, no, I'm good being busy. But my point to this is that there are people that look at us
Mhm.
and want to change us
Right.
because we're not complaining. We're just expressing. We're saying, oh, I'm busy doing this. I'm busy. Well, you should be less busy or take
Right.
this off your plate. And my point to bringing this up is that's a joy buster, meaning this.
Yes.
Any person that tries to fix other people is not going to be happy because you can't change somebody else, right?
Right, right,
People have to find their own joy. So if you're the type of person that feels that you need to give everyone else advice on how to fix their life, you might want to turn that mirror around and see if you aren't robbing yourself of your own joy because isn't that something that's going to be difficult when people don't listen?
right.
You're kind of set yourself up for
True.
failure there, meaning we'll go back to this. I shared this in the last episode. There are two types of people in this world, and the distinction is huge. There are people that try to mold the environment to them, and people that mold to the environment. If you adapt to change, you are going to be much happier than a person that tries to change things because you're not, you got to ride life's wave. You got to surf the wave and just go where it takes you because trying to change people and
Mhm.
trying to change the universe is one of the biggest joy busters there is. And I'm sorry
Right.
for interrupting, but when you
No.
said that, I just know that you've shared with me people trying to change you. That you'll
Right.
go, yeah, I'm doing this, and they tell me not to run races. That's like the
Mhm.
biggest thing,
Right.
But you're a runner; it's in your heart.
And I think people have to sometimes think about what you have to let go of to find the joy, right?
Well,
That's a big one too.
people, you got to let go of people.
Or sometimes it's big, sometimes it's a career change and you're too afraid to do it. Um, it could be little things, but sometimes it's big things, and you have to realize that because once you do it, and then that immediate feeling, you know you did the right thing,
Well,
right?
fear breeds fear,
Yes.
unfortunately. And look, I'm afraid that there's no way. I mean, some fears like have anxiety attached to them, and that's different. Like I can't fly. Everybody can give me
Right.
advice. Oh, drink a cocktail, take a pill. No, I have so much anxiety about getting on a plane that it's sheer torture, and I just can't do that to myself. Just like Daniela helped me immensely. I have a huge anxiety issue with MRIs, as do a lot of people. And it took a village to get me to do an MRI. Daniela held my hand in the MRI tube. My friend was the MRI tech, and our other friend showed up. I had to take Xanax. I mean, that is not the same as choices of staying in a job that makes you unhappy. That's a deal crusher for me, but there are some people that are so incredibly afraid of change that I think it actually causes anxiety. There are people, we know people that are to their detriment, so afraid to cut toxic people off that they're robbing themselves of their joy. If you have to keep a toxic person in your life. I can't imagine. This is where I'm grateful. I'm an Aquarian. To those that follow astrology, I can cut somebody off and just never look back. It's a truth, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm grateful for it. Because I learned a long time ago, I had a best friend for 30 years and I suffered through that relationship. She was the type of person that did emotional blackmail, would threaten to share your secrets if you didn't do this.
Mhm.
One of those people that needed to control the environment. And if you need to do that, sometimes manipulation is how you choose to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but my point is that's probably an episode maybe we could focus on down the road, how to release yourself from toxic people. But that's a deal breaker, right?
Right. We're absolutely.
For joy, that's a deal breaker.
Absolutely.
You know?
Definitely, definitely.
So I'm looking at my little list here, and we did actually make a list, and not that I'm a list person. But, yeah, so to say, like, here's just some examples where joy gets lost: toxic people, burnout,
Mhm.
comparing your life, like, trying to keep up with the Jones, and lack of boundaries. There's a
Yes.
big one. That's a huge one for a joy stealer. I definitely wanna do an episode on boundaries because that has been a deal changer for me in my life. Just when I learned to set boundaries, sharing stories of how that actually effectively worked positively for me. And then on the other side of the coin, the rebuild, things that bring joy into your life, gratitude, doing activities that you love, kindness, random acts of kindness, sharing kindness with others. We just had an incident last weekend where John, my husband, and I were on our way to pick up my granddaughter for her birthday, and she's so excited, so you don't wanna disappoint her or be late. And on the side of the road that we ran into a man having a stroke, and
Mhm.
totally threw our day off, of course, grateful to
Mhm.
help him, had to take his truck back to his house, found out he had a German Shepherd, we had to go feed this dog. Took me a couple hours to find his daughter. Our whole day is not the way that it started out, and what was interesting to me is we just stopped and did what we had to do. Even though I never met this man, he lives around the corner. He was 73 years old, and, we waited for the ambulance and everything. Our day got derailed to help this gentleman, and, it took us the weekend, going back and feeding his dog and helping out and so forth, and, it was interesting to me some of the things that people said back to me, like, "You didn't know that guy. Why'd you do that? I wouldn't have done that." And I'm thinking to myself, "We just did what had to be done.
Well,
There's
it's
no question."
true, and sorry for interrupting, but
No.
it's called having a servant heart. Some people have more of a servant heart, and that definitely fuels them, right? And so in the end, after even the chaos and it being your granddaughter's birthday, at the end of the day, you did something huge for him, right? And you made a difference for him and the dog, which he may never even be able to tell you, but it's having a servant heart, which gives you joy.
I was proud to do it. I was grateful that we were able to assist, that I just thinking there was a dog locked in a house that had no food. So the story is actually a little more sad. The gentleman, is a bit of a hoarder. He's an older man that wasn't taking care of himself. There was no food in the house. We don't know how long it was that the dog hadn't eaten. The good news was we were able to take dog from our house. We were able to get him fed twice a day, walked. He was so grateful, that dog. I mean, you can just, how you were talking about whiskey and joy, how she sees you in her happiness.
Right.
We didn't know this dog, and in 2 days, this dog whined when we left. I mean, this dog
Mhm.
just wanted, it was grateful. It was appreciative.
Right.
And the good news was his daughter, who lived 3 hours away, did come. She took him to her farm with 12 acres. Everything turned out, and it was a little bit of an inconvenience, minor inconvenience, but I was grateful to do that for somebody, and I can tell you subconsciously that fuels and feeds your inner peace. Not doing it would affect your subconscious in a way, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The one thing that I know and I can probably believe is true is that people that are joyful or live a joyful existence have peace in their mind and peace in their heart. And peace comes from doing the right thing, if that makes sense. When you are called to duty, don't ask, just do.
Right.
Because at the end of that experience, there was a guide, it was a test. If there was one thing that rules my existence that I wish other people could kind of adopt my philosophy a little bit would be look at everything in life that comes your way as a test. And passing or failing is a spiritual test. It's not a worldly test. So when this situation was thrown in front of us, had I not done those things that we did, I would have wondered. It would have weighed on my conscience. I think deep down in your being, your energy, your heart, that passing the test was just doing the next right thing.
Right.
And if you don't pass the test, it's like the world sees everything, the universe sees everything. And so finding your inner peace is doing the right thing. And if you walk away from a situation like that that has been presented to you, somehow I feel like it robs you deep down in
Hmm.
your knowing of something more peace of mind, satisfying gratitude. So we will talk about those things as we go through, your moral compass, learning how to follow
Right.
your moral compass, without question, um, living the life that you are designed to live, finding inner peace, finding joy. This is where it's really helpful not to have an audience, but there are stories. I'm sure people out there have these amazing stories of how they found joy, something they did, a small win, a priceless moment, watching your grandchild on stage, your son or daughter just succeeded. They just got their dream job. You know, you wanna be okay with yourself at the end of the day. You need to be able to live in your own space and existence in a place of alignment, peace, hope, gratitude. And there are ways to do these things like peaceful practices like meditation, yoga. Only you know where you find your peace. But no matter how chaotic a life is, no matter what's going on, no matter what's distracting you, even things that are as imbalanced as a parent that is in the hospital. We think of Lisa at the moment.
Hmm.
You just got to find ways to work around and support people. Be someone's support system. It'll help you find your joy like a pillar, right?
Right. Correct. And then, on another note, because that's, the deep joy, right? So for people, because some people, again, they don't even know. They're so focused on helping others and not putting themselves first. But, you know, something that you enjoy doing, like Teresa loves the crafts. I love being outdoors. So I signed up for a month of a golf clinic, right? To find something that you've always wanted to do, a cake decorating class, go volunteer. And in doing that, you will find the micro joy, you will find the big joy because it makes your heart happy. You're going to meet people. You're going to do something you've never done that you've always wanted to do. Um, and so that might be the direction just to start. Join a book club, join a gym, do something you've always wanted to do. The weather's starting to break. Um,
Do
go,
something out of your
yes,
comfort zone.
yes. And
Take a
then
risk.
right. And then you'll realize, oh, wow, that is giving me deep satisfaction and joy.
And
Yeah.
even like you said with the micro joys,
Hmm.
happiness is most often conditional, right?
Right.
It arrives when things unfold the way that you had hoped they would. Events go your way, outcomes, are as expected. You can still have joy when that doesn't happen by micro joys, by recognizing your patience in that moment, patting yourself on the back and saying, you know what, I'm going to take a moment and go meditate. It's okay to walk away from anything at any time to give yourself peace. That's the first step in joy is finding peace, I think.
True.
You can't have joy if you don't have peace. They are sort of together. They're companions. So again, I would love to have questions in here somehow, some way, to talk to people. The other thing too is we do look for ideas on what to talk about, just because there's so much. I mean, we could
Right.
do one a week. There's so many myriads of things and directions we could go in. Um, but our first episode, of course, was a short episode on introductions. Our second was airs on Wednesday. We record these things in advance just to make sure that we can air when we're supposed to air, and that's Fooled by Love. And I really loved that episode quite a
Mhm,
bit. We
mhm.
are going to have the Oracle in the future for episodes where it matters, where we need a man's input and a little bit more levity. Some of our episodes, we have decided we're going to jump around a little bit. We want some funny, we want some deep,
Mhm.
we want some meaningful, we want some lighthearted. Just to keep the vibe like life, unpredictable,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
there are episodes I just want to laugh. There's some I want to be just our personalities. I think joy, while it is a deeper topic, because it's meaningful. So I
Right.
would consider this a meaningful episode. So the next one, I think we're due either for a funny one, keep a little bit of levity. Like we said, Lisa will be back to join us at some point. We send our prayers to her. She's dealing with something tough. So we need to keep helping her find her joy by supporting her and carrying on. We are carrying
Yes,
on.
we are.
So,
Yes.
but we're nearing the end of this episode. I hope you found some deep meaning in it, from micro joys to deep joy. What say you, Daniela?
I really want to hear what everybody's micro joys and their joys are. So when you all listen, you know, we want your feedback. We want to hear what that is because when you share, you give others ideas, right? And you're blessing others by sharing. So we want your feedback. What are they? And again, what do you want us to talk about?
Hmm.
Yeah.
No man is an island. We need each other. We
Yes.
learn from each other. We experience with each other. But a definite part of finding joy is learning to be happy alone with yourself. So I get great joy in my moments of respite where I am alone. That is true for me. I think my
Hmm.
two happiest moments are when you're with people you love and when I'm by myself doing something I love. Those are where I find. And if you're in a position right now where things aren't going your way, forgive yourself first, give yourself some grace, and make sure you hang on to something that is meaningful to you. It's okay to separate. It's okay to step away. It's
Hmm.
okay to take a breather. You can take mini vacations in your own mind just by changing what you're doing, changing your space, your frame of mind.
Yep. And to add to that, I think it's really important because we can think about a topic and then obsess about it, right?
Mm.
Process it, deal with it, and move on. One of the biggest micro joys that we also take for granted is music. Then turn on
Yes.
the music, right? I love good Sunday music, right? But then at the same token, I need something more uplifting. So I'm constantly changing the music that sets your mood quickly.
Yeah, dancing in your living room by yourself.
Hmm.
Who doesn't do that? It's like laughter. It's like watching a comedian. Why do people pay, money to go out and see a comedian? Because there's such joy in laughter. That's huge. Find things that make you laugh. Do things that are funny. Read funny books. Watch funny TV shows. Go to a comedy club. Get a dog. They'll make you laugh, right?
Right?
Anyway, with that being said, this was just us talking about relationships unscripted, doing the things, sharing the things, being the things that help us grow. So we're all about healing and connection here. We want to thank you for joining us yet again for episode number 3, the 411 on finding your joy. And we don't have the subject for the next one, but that will be on, I think, 4/21. We'll have
Mhm.
episode 4, and we'll put out some more information on that. So for now, stay strong, love yourself, be happy, find your joy.
Yes, ditto. Find your joy.
Love to you all. Till next time. Bye now.
Bye.